Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. FPL Consult here, and today we're going to do the wildcard team for game week 34. Now this is crucial, especially for me, because I am wildcarding as well in game week 34, and this draft is so important because we have to get it right so that we can maximize the number of points we can get for the remaining game weeks, right? So much research has gone into this video. I hope you guys enjoy it, and we're going to cover things from the fixture changes from game week 34 up to game week 37. The Premier League recently announced some changes and we're going to cover them later. And also, we're then going to rank the best teams to target, right? We can't have every single team in our draft. So we're going to have to come and prioritize some teams over others. And hopefully, the graphic later helps you guys do that. And also, we do have to consider some rotation risks because most of the Premier League teams that we want to target, they are still involved in Europe, right? So those are things we have to consider as well, right? And then finally, I will go through my game week 34 wildcard draft. This will probably be the first draft, and later on in the week, I will release another video where I reveal my final draft. So hopefully this video is helpful for you guys. If you do enjoy it, please help me out and give it a like. Subscribe if you are new around here so we can hit our season target of 1,000 subscribers. We are really close, so hopefully we can do that by game week 34. And for now, let's get on with the content. So in order for us to build our game week 34 wildcard team, it is important for us to know how the fixtures in the coming game weeks look like, right? So I am recording this just after Liverpool have beaten Man City in the FA Cup semi-finals, right? So City are now out of the FA Cup, right? And that has implications for the game week 36 and 37 fixtures as well, right? But first, let me cover the game that isn't played as of recording. Of course, by the time you guys are watching this, maybe the FA Cup semi-final of Chelsea versus Crystal Palace would have been over, and you guys can read this graphic accordingly. Right, so first let me explain the first case scenario for that, and that's if Chelsea win the FA Cup semi-final against Crystal Palace, right? If they do, then what would happen is their game week 37 fixture against United shifts to game week 34 instead, right? Giving both Chelsea and United a double game week in game week 34. And what that would mean for them in game week 37 is that Chelsea will have a single game week against Leicester at home, and Manchester United will blank in game week 37, right? So the other case where Crystal Palace win Chelsea and they qualify for the FA Cup finals, then what that would cause is the Crystal Palace and Aston Villa game in game week 37 would be shifted to game week 35, giving both Aston Villa and Crystal Palace a double game week in game week 35, and then in game week 37 they both would have a single game week, right? So major changes here that we have to consider. And also, let's talk about these green fixtures right beside me, right? So basically, this is for the Wolves versus Manchester City game, right? And now that Liverpool have won Manchester City in the FA Cup, what that means is that the Wolves versus Manchester City game can fall into either game week 36 or 37, right? But according to Ben Crellin, it is more likely to fall in game week 37. Of course, these are not confirmed yet, but we have to consider that Wolves and City would either double in game week 36 or 37, right? So with all these fixtures in mind right now, let's take a look at some of the teams to prioritize. So here we have a graphic which helps us to prioritize some teams over others. So I'm going to say two things about this graphic before we get into it. So the first thing is that I am assuming that Chelsea win the FA Cup semi-final against Crystal Palace. And the second thing as well is that not all teams that double are here, right? So take, for example, in game week 36, Leeds have a double game week of Arsenal and Chelsea, right? And that is a horrible double game week for them. So of course, we are not going to want to consider Leeds, right? We're only going to want to consider teams with a good double game week, and possibly also if they have a good fixture run or if they are on good form as well. Right, so now let's take a look at this graphic in detail, and as we can see, it's the big three at the top, right? Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City, right? And basically, they have double game weeks coming up. They have a good run of fixtures as well, so definitely it's pretty straightforward for us to want to target their players. And then if we take a look further down the list, we have Leicester, Aston Villa, and Everton. Right, so if we take a look, Leicester, Aston Villa, and Everton, they all have a double game week in game week 36 and 37, right? So back-to-back double game weeks there. And then for Leicester and Aston Villa, they also have a pretty decent fixture run coming up as well. So their assets are really attractive, right? And then if we take a look, we have Crystal Palace as well. further down the list, right, they have a good fixture run, and also they have a really good double game week 37, right? So really they are, or they should be, coming up on our radars right now. And then for the last 4 teams, we see that they only have 1 tick each, right? So Arsenal, they have a decent double game week in game week 36. Spurs have a decent fixture run, and also they are in really hot form right now, so it's quite difficult for us to ignore some Spurs assets. And also for Watford, they have a decent double game week in game week 36. Right, so for Manchester United, I would advise against getting players from their team. They're only in this list because they double in game week 34, and even so, that isn't a really good double game week for them, right? They play Arsenal and Chelsea in game week 34, right? And further forward, in game week 35, 36, 37, and 38, they don't really have very good fixtures as well, and they blank in game week 37, in fact, right? So basically, if we take a look at this graphic on the whole, we can see where the bulk of our players in our wildcard draft should come from, right? Players from Chelsea, Liverpool, City, Leicester, Aston Villa, Everton, Crystal Palace, maybe some Spurs and Arsenal assets. But aside from that, I think the structure is pretty clear. So now we're going to take a look at some teams with rotation risks, and unfortunately guys, 3 out of these 4 teams are actually teams that we want to target. Right, so let's first cover the schedule for the rest of the season. So in game week 34, before the game week 34 deadline, the double game week 36 and 37 fixtures would have been confirmed, right? And then in game week 35, before the game week 35 deadline, is actually the first semi-final leg of the Champions League, Europa League, and also the Conference League, right? And then the second leg of the semi-final happens before game week 36. And then in game week 37, the midweek fixture would be the UEFA Europa League finals. And then on the weekend of game week 37, there's the FA Cup final, right? So basically, lots of fixtures in this period, right? So let's take a look at the first team, and that's Manchester City, and they play a really tough opponent in the UEFA Champions League semi-final tie, right? They play Real Madrid. So a player to take note is Cancelo, because he is suspended from the first leg of the semi-finals. So what that could mean, I mean, no confirmation, right? But what that could mean is more game time for him in game week 34 and 35, right? And then if we take a look aside from that, I think players like Foden, players like Laporte, players like KDB, I think all of them are prone to rotation. Because they probably would want to save their first team for the fixtures in the Champions League, right? And then if we take a look at Liverpool, I expect lesser rotation there because they play Villarreal, slightly easier opponents, but I still expect them to field their first 11 in Europe. And basically, whether they field their first 11 in Europe or not, they still have to win every game in the Premier League, right, to stand a chance of winning, because it's not in their hands right now. They're still trailing City by 1 point, so they're still going to want to field a really strong team every Premier League game. So I still expect players like Salah, players like Trent, Robertson to all start every Premier League game, so I feel that those players are safe. And then if you take a look, Leicester is currently in the semi-finals of the Conference League. So basically, it's pretty clear Leicester is going to prioritize their Europe ambitions, and basically heavy rotation expected there. So I'm going to be a bit careful with their assets, and I would advise everyone to as well. And then lastly, we have West Ham playing Frankfurt in the UEFA Europa League semi-finals, right? But this one really wouldn't affect us that much because we probably wouldn't be targeting West Ham assets anyway. Right, so if we take a look, just to wrap this whole thing up, I feel like City are prone to rotation risk. Liverpool maybe not as much. Leicester, I think, is the one with the heaviest rotation risk there, and West Ham doesn't affect us, right? So in general, we will have to tailor our expectations of the minutes that players are going to get from these teams involved in Europe, and that would kind of help us craft our team according to the minutes that these players that we want are going to get. So guys, finally, this is my Wildcard 34 first draft. So let me explain some of my picks. So I've gone for Schmeichel and Foster because both of them have a double game week in game week 36. And I'm intending to build this team to bench boost into game week 36, right? And then for the defenders, I've gone for Trent, James, Cancelo, Rudiger, and Medicash. So I think Trent, James, and Cancelo pretty straightforward, right? But for Rudiger, I've gone for double Chelsea because Chelsea have 2 double game weeks coming up from game week 34 up till game week 37. It's just a matter of when they are, right? But they have a lot of games coming up, and I'm going to want to double on their defense, right? And then for Medicash, I've gone for him because Aston Villa have a back-to-back double in game week 36 and 37. So 36, I can bench boost with him, and then in game week 37, I can start him, right? And then for midfielders, I've gone for Son, Salah, Foden, Havertz, and Ramsey. So it's pretty difficult to ignore Son right now. Tottenham assets are on fire, and I'm going to want Son in the team. So Salah, straightforward, I'm going to want him, especially when Liverpool double in game week 36. And then for Phil Foden, I've gone for him because I want some City coverage, but KDB is too expensive for this team that I'm trying to create, right? And then I've gone for Havertz because I also want some Chelsea coverage, Chelsea attackers for the games that they have coming up, right? And then for Jacob Ramsey, as mentioned just now, Villa have a back-to-back double in game week 36 and 37, right? So as for the 3 strikers, I think some of these picks could make some of you guys laugh, but let me explain. So I've gone for Mateta. It's pretty obvious this pick because Crystal Palace have a double in game week 37 and they have good fixtures coming up as well. So he could be a regular starter for this draft, right? As for Timo Pukki and João Pedro, for Timo Pukki, he actually has really good stats backing him up. And his expected goals per 90, expected assists per 90 are all pretty decent. And he has a double in game week 36, and also he has a pretty decent fixture run in 34 and 35, right? So I am strongly considering him right now. And for João Pedro, it could very easily be Dennis or King based on the minutes that they get coming up, we can see. But basically, I would want a cheap Watford attacker because of their double in game week 36. So this is how the team looks like in game week 36 after I've made 2 changes, right? So the first change I've made is to take Son out and bring Maddison in. And that's because Tottenham have a really tough double game week 36, right? And then what I've also done is to take Mateta out for Richarlison. It could really very easily be Timo Pukki out for Richarlison if Pukki isn't delivering. But basically, if you take a look at this draft, really so many doublers right here ready for me to bench boost in game week 36, right? But obviously this isn't my final draft, but I think it is a good place to start. I will continue to tinker as well, and I will release my final draft later on in the week. But for now, if you did enjoy this video, please help me out and leave a like, subscribe if you are new around here so that we can hit the season target of 1,000 subscribers, and I will see you guys in another video very soon. Bye bye.